Welcome to the Daily Edge. Steve, Jake, Mark, we are the Noodlebergs. Let's find our edge. And as always, that starts with the affirmation. And today's affirmation is my results and the circumstances of those results are my responsibility and my responsibility alone. I have to manage my emotions and my behavior so that I can stay consistent through whatever the results are.
So let me give people a little look behind the scenes. Preparing for this show, I'm putting these guys in separate corners. We have a great topic today. It's hot. It's March Madness. We have a great topic, but these guys could potentially go after each other. So I'm sitting in the middle.
Let's set the stage for the story, right? It is post round of 32. Yeah. UConn just lost to the University of Florida in a very difficult game. And Dan Hurley does what Dan Hurley does, steps off of the court and says such a regrettable soundbite to the other team and goes, I hope that they don't fuck you the way they fucked us, like to another team that's getting ready to play a game. Like, oh my God, is that regrettable? And then goes to the podium in his press conference. We have no idea what he said in the locker room because nobody's leaked that footage yet, but hopefully they will. But then he goes to the podium and he has what we're calling a wallow moment, where he goes, oh, I'm looking forward to a regular offseason where I don't have to throw the first pitch or ring the bell. Well, I'm just trying to throw the sound bites out there, and we'll drop some of the clips into the show, I'm sure. But I want to give context. And so we're going to discuss, as a leader, what's the expected behavior in these kind of situations? What lessons can we learn from this? And we're gonna debate it and we're gonna talk about it. So
let's call it what it is.
Sure.
They lost.
Yeah.
Right. Which is a horrible emotion. Nobody wants to lose
after winning back-to-back championships.
So the pressure was insane.
He won back-to-back championships. Right. I just want to preface that most of those players did not play many meaningful minutes,
which is part of the problem with the sport right now. But having said that, do you want your CEO wallowing in the media? When you lose.
Well, let's just talk. Let's set the stage even further, right? Dan Hurley, as a human being, right, underachieved in his family, in a family of basketball legends.
Highly competitive family.
His dad was an absolute competitive alpha freak that said, both of my boys must be the absolute best. Have no idea what that is like.
So,
and then his brother had a ton of success in basketball, and Dan underachieved. Not only did he underachieve, he actually quit. He had a mental breakdown and quit while he was at, where was he? Villanova? Where was he? I forget where he was. No, it was bigger than that. It was in the Northeast. Anyway, he quit, had to walk away, take a break, and then comes back and underachieves. And now, for the first time in his life, is having his moment in the Hurley family.
I want to preface my initial thoughts that I understand how hard it is to win 2 national titles. Well, I don't understand, first of all. I understand that I won none of them.
Right.
So I understand how hard it is.
You know damn well how hard it is because
I didn't win any
of
them, right? So let's start there. It's got to be exponentially harder to come off 2 years where you won with 2 different teams. Most of those players are gone and you have to do it again.
Same expectation.
And people are still calling you the 2-time defending champ. Yep. And that is wildly unfair to most of those kids that had to step into that role.
The bar was high.
The bar was exponentially high. There's no different from an Alabama team that replaces players. But in basketball in the current state, you have a new roster almost every year. Kentucky is the first team ever to replace or to have 0 scorers.
Nobody,
back.
right?
0.
Nobody.
And they are in. So this is a new wave of game. Hold on. And so I understand that it is very difficult for those players and especially him to coach those players. Watching them this year from start to finish, this felt like a Dan Hurley year, not a UConn year. This felt like a lot of, this is about me and I'm going for the 3-peat and I'm going to do my 60 minutes interview and I'm going to talk. No, I'm serious. Even from the beginning. I mean, this first soundbite of the year was him looking at a ref that he didn't know in a preseason tournament and said, I'm the best fucking coach there ever is. And I don't even,
which on his 60 minutes interview, he said that was regrettable.
And he
I wouldn't
goes,
have done that.
I don't even know who you are. Yeah. I've been around this sport and you've never, whatever.
Yeah.
So from the start, there's a lot of I made it about me. And this felt like the last ego shot to him that I'm not going to three-peat. I wasn't able to get another team there. And for me,
he for sure is feeling that, right?
That is
exactly what he's feeling.
But every leader would feel
I know.
If you're bought in, every leader.
So hear me out. So he walks off the court. He says, "Hope you don't get fucked," and he's yelling at the refs on the end of the game and is losing his mind like he normally does, and he's yelling, whatever. His initial interview is not in the locker room. I think it's before he even goes in the locker room, and he is very raw. Very similar to how he was at the panel, but he's talking to whoever the sideline person is, and they do like the post game, whatever.
Right.
And he goes, I just love this team so much, and this hurts.
And he was crying. Right?
And he was crying.
Yeah.
And I had no problem with that one.
Yeah.
Until you got
Clark
to
Kellogg said that was honor.
That was raw. Like
honor,
we went out with honor because he knew they weren't as talented.
Yeah.
They played what might be the best team in the tournament,
and they played about as good as they could possibly play.
And then he goes to the press conference. And he talks about how, well, it'll be good to get back to a normal offseason and this and that. And to me, it felt like, poor me, I had an impossible job, and I'm telling you why I didn't get it done.
Okay.
It does.
Okay.
And
which you're entitled to how you feel, because everybody can feel however they want.
Coach K, Calipari, Patino, Roy Williams, I've watched those guys coach lots of teams.
Sure.
Lots of teams. Lots of talented teams. Lots of talented players year in, year out. Their teams are changing. Coach K had to change from being not a one-and-done system to a one-and-done system to recruit and change and whatever. I never saw them at the end go, well, I'm happy I get to get back to a normal offseason.
Sure. So wait.
I don't understand that. I don't understand that thinking.
Let's go back 8 months, and the Lakers are blowing smoke up his ass saying, well, you're gonna come here.
He got more money from UConn because the Lakers wanted him to come be the dude there.
That was a byproduct of him doing a great job. Great, you had all the accolades.
So he said something really important in this post-game press conference that to me struck a chord.
Okay,
he said, "You get so wrapped up in the success, and you get so wrapped up in the moment that." He admittedly took his eyes off of what was important. And so in response to that, he said, it will be good to have an off season where I'm not asked to throw out the first pitch, where I don't have to ring the bell.
I'm not asked to go interview for the Lakers.
Right,
I understand.
My point.
Right.
But those are your choices.
Right.
1,000%. So this is a guy who said, I got wrapped up in it and I learned a lesson from it. And maybe it's too weak to communicate that to the world?
No,
because that's what he said.
The right word. No. I don't want to get that confused. I don't want to get that confused that it's weak.
Apparently, don't say that to the public.
No.
Go to your corner.
Most other coaches that know that this team has a shelf life talk about the team.
Sure.
Talk about, this and that.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to compare him to Patino,
it was
right. Patino was a 2 seed. Mm-hmm. They get bounced. Mm-hmm. And I think one of his sound bites was, I'm so thankful for the guys who gave me everything they had,
and he said
which I also thought was so interesting because he didn't say everybody. He didn't say, I'm so thankful for this team for giving me everything they had.
And there were guys.
For the guys.
Well,
because he knows damn well everybody on that team didn't give him everything they got.
For me, I love seeing Calipari with that team. And he said, look, at the beginning of the year, we were in a dark place. These guys didn't really get it, but they came. He made it all about the team. It was all about
which you should do
as a 10.
It's the right thing to do. You should.
If you played for Connecticut, if you played and you played your heart out, and he got up there and talked about him, would you feel? Is that something that as a player on that team?
Really good question.
They got no recognition. They got nothing.
To be clear,
I didn't do it.
To be clear,
man.
To be clear, we're reacting to a 90-second clip of his press conference. I did not watch the whole thing. So I would have to go back and watch the entire thing. I don't know whether or not he did thank the team when he first got to the podium. I don't know whether or not he did recognize the players. We're just talking about this 190 seconds. He may have done that. He may not have. I don't know.
Shift it to business.
So this is like, go ahead. I want you to say, because I asked you, I said like, hey, is he not supposed to say this to the public? And you're like, no. You want to respond to that?
I don't think he should. I don't think that that's the time and place.
Okay.
I don't.
Okay.
I personally don't believe that 15 minutes after the game when your guys just lost a very heartbreaking game that you go in there already talking about, well, next year in the offseason, you're right. We're talking about a sound clip.
Right.
Or a sound bite. And I understand that. I just would have liked him to own the moment a little bit more about this season and talked about what it meant to actually go through it and not, I can't wait for it to change back.
Which I will tell you.
Because to me, that's I'm feeling sorry
using
for
the should word, right? Don't should on me.
Right.
But like using should.
Or he had an opportunity.
Should he have done a better job at the podium there? Probably.
Well,
Does he lose respect for me for being a human and letting it out there and being exactly who he always is, which is just speaking from straight emotion? Not really. Not for me, he doesn't.
You're the president of our company.
Yeah.
Can we afford for you to be in the public and be
emotional? No, probably
no.
Right.
This is the point
right.
I want to drive home is that you're the CEO of Connecticut basketball. You have a responsibility.
So we're in agreement that he shouldn't.
Right.
The word should. It's not ideal. No, it's not.
Well, it would be better if he was able to keep his shit together and just say,
I think that's the problem.
We tried our best.
Right.
We did it.
But this isn't a one-off occurrence.
No, correct.
This guy has a problem with emotional intelligence. Right. He does. He does.
Self-awareness.
I think
he relates to his players pretty well.
Emotional intelligence is not to say fuck you to the ref.
I don't want to be living in that house.
It is.
I don't know. That's control. It's more control.
Sure. The blow-ups on his and losing perspective of what's important, I think, is his problem right now. And obviously he's one of the best basketball coaches ever.
Yeah.
But you're talking about, for the first time, he didn't have a bunch of players who had played with him for years.
So I do want to. Okay, great. So I want to tie this to the business conversation now because it's taken me a long time to get to this perspective, but I really do see it now. Whereas this is where business and sports are very, very similar, particularly revenue and sales, right? Because it is a performance-based metric. Yeah. It is a performance-based business or category, and it is the only one where it doesn't fucking matter how many years in a row you won President's Club, how many years in a row you grew your revenue by 100% or 10% or 150%, doesn't matter. You got to pay the piper again come this year.
Lost to Florida, who has a baby coach. I mean,
right. And there's no excuse, right? It doesn't matter. The reality is that he's being judged on performance, and the performance was not good enough now. And learning how to deal with that as a leader is very, very hard.
Can we talk about your chart, which I know you love using, and
sure.
I really do love it, but your high performer chart versus the core values.
Yep.
His behavior is great when you're winning a title. It's no longer great.
Right.
It's no longer great.
Well, and so
and how long it is. That's if he wins a title this year, we're not sitting on this podcast talking he lost, right?
But there are plenty of CEOs who are rah great, everything's going great, and then COVID hits and they shit the bed, man.
And like, shout out to him because that's just part of what I got from that 90-second clip was he was going, I have a lot to work on still. I'm battling ego. I have a lot to do for me. Which I was like, good for you, dude. You're going to sit in front of the public and be like, I've got to be better. I have a lot that I have to work on, which when you listen to him talk
which is funny. You look at it from a very counterpart human level, I think is what you're looking at it as.
Yeah. I try to just listen to it as unbiased.
I'm looking at it as his job is not to be that way for his players.
Sure.
I'm telling you, as a player, I'd have been really I feel like you shit on me, man. Like, seriously,
and so emotional. I need you to be there for me.
And you made it about you.
I need you to get better. For me,
where were you for me, man?
Yeah.
I need you there for me. Like, I put my heart on the line, which I know you did too.
Yeah.
And I love watching you be emotional. But if you're going to be an emotional wreck, I need you to be my rock a little bit. And it's the reason that you're coaching and you're the head coach. And there's a reason we follow you into battle is that right after is not your time to turn around and go, so honestly, it's not.
It's really not. And I don't want that from any leader. I don't want it in business.
I'm not saying to never be that way because that's impractical.
Or do it in private.
Well, so right. So like
you cry in the locker room.
If in the locker room he looked at all those guys and he said, I let you down.
Yeah.
I got wrapped up in the hype of winning these past 2 years. I got so focused on the fact that we had to win
do you
this
think
year
he did
that I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I can tell you from the amount of content that I've watched about him, both in a basketball practice setting,
60 minutes
and 60 Minutes and all of the other ones. Right. ESPN has done them, right? Like I've been invested in Dan Hurley for 2 years now because I loved his story when they first were making a run at the title. Mm-hmm. So this is like the third year of me watching him as a coach. His lack of development and being able to manage his emotions and the way he communicates through them, unacceptable.
I think that's where I'm at. Is this isn't the first?
But there was a really, really cool moment in his 60 Minutes interview where Gino Auriemma told him, if you don't find something other than championships to fulfill you, you will not make it here.
There's definitely an element of him saying that out loud in the press conference to make himself feel better. To say that out loud of going, yeah, great, I need to get back to the process in the offseason, because he, in his own words, the losses made him want to kill himself every time.
Right.
You know?
Right. Correct.
I'm saying that jokingly. He literally looks like he's going to die.
The emotion of highs and lows,
so
which is the worst possible thing you can do.
And so that's after winning 2 titles and after talking about of where I come from and this is, and having an understanding of how you are, I don't think he put himself in an uncomfortable position to not be that way.
But the takeaway, I think we'd all agree, is losing or failure is your friend if you let it be.
Has to be.
If he's willing to learn, he can become a better coach. Because of this.
In the moment of like, okay, he's walking off the court and he's blaming the refs. In my mind, I was like, oh no, Dan. Don't point the finger somewhere else. Right. Walk off the court and go, we didn't do it.
We played him. We played him right.
But if you're going to be wrapped up in the loss, right? Like, hey, all right, we didn't do it. Don't be pointing the finger at the refs walking off. I was like, oh my God, no, not that. But then heard a drastically different tone in terms of what he was talking about in that press conference.
But
at least not pointing the finger outward and inward.
But one is a manufactured interview. The other one is very raw emotion. And I'm going to take your manufactured interview. I can't take it at face value anymore.
Sure.
Because you can't.
Well, if you can't follow the process, you should give yourself. And so I think this is good to talk about. As a leader, you have to create the space for yourself to detach emotion from response.
It's hard.
And if you don't do that, you're screwed. Yeah. You are setting yourself up for failure by allowing your emotion to dictate your response. He allowed his emotion to dictate his response walking off the court. He then had time to go, what do I really want to say here? Still not good enough because he talked about himself.
You're a basketball player. You're in the transfer portal, or you're a recruit.
I'm not playing.
You're signing up to go play for that guy?
No. Definitely not.
Like you're going out of your way to go play for. Watching what you saw. No. Take everything out. Watching what you saw from the start of that game to the end of the game in the interview.
That's where
you're a parent. You're a parent.
Okay.
Or you're actually that. You're sending your kid to be around that.
Start to finish, right? Well, so if we're taking it all into account,
everything,
right? They were one of the most coached basketball teams I've seen in the tournament. So I would say he can coach the hell out of a team. I have a serious red flag with what he said walking off the court, that as a father, I'm going to look at him on the recruiting trail and be like, yo, what is that? Because if you plan to grow my young man into an adult, I can't have him doing that as an acceptable response to adversity. So I would say there's a conversation to be had there for sure. But again, I try to not live on one thing. I try to take all of it into account. And I think there's a lot of positives for him that I go, all right, you got to get better in this area, which if I'm the AD of UConn, I'm like, we're not having this conversation anymore. I'm not going to have these conversations about the referees. I'm not going to have this conversation about.
Have some self-awareness. If you consistently shit on the referees, they're never going to help you.
Right. Correct.
But to me, the takeaway has to be, where do you put your emotions and when is the right time to truly show for them?
When is it okay to be human? When is it okay to be human?
In private.
It's okay to be human with your team. It's not okay to be human to the public.
Yes.
I think
agree.
You have to, as a leader recognize, well, go back to Godfather. Never let anyone outside the family know what you're thinking. He let the whole world know what he's thinking.
Right. And that's, you lose credibility. You lose it all in that moment. They were a very well-coached team all year, correct? They played up and could have
don't mistake
won that
the guy
game.
Can coach basketball.
Right.
And they
I don't want
anyone
to think. Relax.
You know what? The Gators got a scare, and that was a fight.
They were as tested as they've been.
Yes, which is probably a good thing for the Gators, but it's so difficult to win, especially in this environment. You know, he did great.
And here's the other major takeaway for today, because you hit on a good one, but I think it's you cannot ride the emotion of whatever the momentum is at the moment. It could be upward momentum. It could be downward momentum. If you are riding the wave, you are setting yourself up for success.
And take that to our business. Take it to our business. Same thing, man. You know, if you're going to ride the emotion, you're going to just totally burn out.
Because it takes you away from the process. The thing that drives revenue are the behaviors, right? The contacting, the conversations, the relationship building. That's the thing that drives success. That's how you bulletproof your business from recession or anything else.
Last question.
You want to bulletproof your team from losing?
The other day, and I actually really loved it. I'm surprised I even said it. But I was like, your job is allowed to control your time. It's not allowed to control your attitude.
Right.
And I was like,
Yep.
They're allowed to occupy a lot of their time.
Yep.
And the more you get paid, the more it's going to occupy. And they have every right to do that, depending on how important it is, obviously. But they don't have the right to control how you feel while you're there and all the emotions that come with it. And owning that will really put you on that.
And it's your responsibility.
It's your responsibility. That's what I said. It was because it was to a person who was feeling, oh, I'm working so much. That's why I feel. I go, no.
Right.
It's not because you're working a lot. It's because of what you're doing or how you're getting treated or whatever it might be. But you control that side, not them.
Excellent takeaways. Excellent edge. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and share. And we'll see you next time to help you find the edge. Thanks.